Hello, everybody. Welcome, welcome all to the greatest pop culture show out there. Oh, wait a minute. Technical difficulties. The
Alrighty.
tiny house hit a curb. The tiny house hit a curb. Hold on. She is there. I promise you, she is there. The vivacious Taeler Hendrix is there doing a little housekeeping. A bird ran into the tiny house, shook things up a little bit. But she's coming. I am Vince Russo. This is live, and this certainly is live with Vince and Taeler. She's coming. We are going to go over the latest in pop culture today. A lot going on. Guys, I want to tell you, as I always tell you, man, if you enjoy this show, if you like what we're doing, please feel free to send in a donation. Feel free to send in a super chat. Whatever you want to do, man, to support me, to support Taeler, so we can get more beautiful backgrounds like that right there. And when you send in a super sticker or a donation, I will bring your question right up here on the screen, and Taeler and I will discuss it. Taeler!
All right. Sorry about that, everybody. I'm having a really rough week.
Taeler, I hope this brightens your week a little, Taeler. I'm very sorry.
Oh man, Vince, it's been rough. Okay. I apologize. And now my equipment is not working. This is just absolutely wonderful.
Well, I mean, I hear you fine. I see you fine.
One second, guys. One second.
I will entertain you guys. We got a lot of very interesting topics today on Live with Vince and Taeler. I'm gonna run off to you what we're gonna be talking about today. We're gonna be talking about Rihanna's Super Bowl appearance today. We're gonna be talking about the new Winnie the Pooh film, and it's not your mom and dad's Winnie the Pooh. I don't know if you guys know about this or not. We're going to be talking a little bit about the Peeps. You guys know Peeps. Peeps started with Easter, but now Peep is out there for every occasion, and they're making a flavored soda, which I am a fan of the Peeps, but oh my God, I can't imagine what that soda is going to taste like. We're going to talk a little bit about all the Batgirl controversy going on. We're going to talk a little wrestling with a little bit about Michelle McCool and the Divas title. We're going to talk about all that today as soon as Taeler gets ready. Taeler, are you ready?
I think I am now, Lord willing. Oh my gosh. Okay.
Oh my,
Jeez Louise on toast. Okay, I am.
Jeez Louise. This is like, go ahead, Taeler, do what you got to do. Oh, jeez Louise. Guys, we are live. Listen, if you feel sorry for what Taeler's going through right now, feel free to send a super sticker. Feel free to send donation. Maybe Taeler could buy a stronger tape that she could tape up the backdrop. I think Taeler froze now, ladies and gentlemen. This is live. This is Jeez Louise on toast. Wait, Taeler, you there? Taeler's frozen now. Taeler's frozen, ladies and gentlemen. We are live. This is what happens on a live show. But I am here with you, and we will wait for Taeler to get set. Welcome, 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 everybody. We're going to be talking about the pop culture topics of the week. As I said, guys, feel free to, I got to go. You just reminded me, guys. Thank you. I've got to make the room public so everybody can come in. I almost forgot. Let me make it public. Everybody can come in the room. All right. Hold on. Let's see. Are we ready? Are we reset? Are we reset, Taeler?
All you can do is laugh. This is like this is so indicative of just everything. Okay, I think we're hold on. Okay, fingers crossed. I think we're good. Can you hear me?
I can hear you fine, yes.
Okay.
Can I start?
I apologize.
Oh, you're okay. Can I start by putting you over as I always do? Because I'm noticing
by all means.
I'm noticing a couple things. I'll tell you what's really popping me.
Okay.
I love the hair today. I love the
Thank
plaid pants today,
you.
but
Thank
the Fonz jacket is killing me, Taylor. I need that Fonz jacket, Taylor.
Thank you. It was a Christmas present from my husband 2 years
Oh,
ago.
what an awesome jacket. Hold on, we got a donation already from Scott Woodford. Have you seen
Hi.
One Created Gorilla Monsoon podcast? Scott, I
No.
have seen that, but I have not clicked on it yet. But I know exactly what you're talking about, and I am going to check that out. Taylor, are you ready to go?
I sure hope so. You know what? I got my plaid goth pants on today. I feel like I did in high school. It's been a really rough week, so I am just ready. And I feel like today is the day you're going to have the Matrix come after me. So let's go. I'm ready for battle.
Listen, I want to start with the talk. I want to start with the talk what everybody's talking about, because I think, first of all, there are a lot of people that don't understand. And I'm going to make things perfectly clear. Now, Taylor, I am a high-ranking official in the Rihanna Navy, and
Okay.
for years. Riri
right.
is my girl. I will support Riri and stand for Riri till the day I die. I love Rihanna's music. I love Rihanna's look. I love Rihanna's edge more than anything. I love it. Are you laughing at me?
I am. It's just I'm so used to hearing bro that to hear you say Riri, I don't know. I was just so caught up.
Me and Riri like this. Me and Riri, two peas in a pod. Been a big fan of Riri for years. Rated R, one of the greatest albums made of all time. Seen Riri in concert. So obviously there was much anticipation. Bro, she hasn't released an album in like 6-7 years, man. Driving me crazy. So we knew she had a child. And this was her big comeback, man. And I was very excited I was more excited about this than the Super Bowl, to be honest with you. So I'm going to go to you first, Taylor. Give me your view of the Super Bowl performance.
Okay, first off, I think she is a legend for the fact that, like you said, she has not released an album in 7 years, and yet she was able to do what she did. Not only not releasing an album for 7 years, but also pregnant with her second child and just being savage on the stage. I love that. I love that for her. I also do have to say that I personally love Rihanna because I always wanted to possess her kind of I don't give a crap attitude. Like, she does not give a shizit, and I love that.
I do.
Like, I cared too much about too many things and too many people that it makes you it makes people more easily able to take advantage of you. And I just really love her attitude of, this is me, take it or leave it. Like, I'm making that money. I really don't care. Like, I love that attitude. So I thought that was really, really cool that you could see that in her performance. I looked this up because I actually watched the Super Bowl. I'm a big football fan, even though my team was not in the Super Bowl. So I had to root on the Chiefs. I thought this was really cool, Vince. So across all platforms on social media, she ranked in more views than the actual Super Bowl. 118.7 million. So just under 119 million people.
But hold on, Taylor. 118 million people watched Rihanna's perform. But wait a minute, Taylor. Nobody watches TV anymore. Haven't you heard that? Nobody watches TV anymore, Taylor. Nobody. What a joke, bro. The next time somebody says nobody watches TV anymore, with all due respect, cover your ears for a second, Taylor. Bro, shut that F up. Shut the F up with nobody watches TV anymore. 118 million people were watching Rihanna on their TV sets. Go ahead, Taylor. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, this was across all platforms. So every form of social media, every TV streaming app like Tubi and all of that. Yeah, 118.7 million. The only Super Bowl halftime show to do better than Rihanna was actually 2015's Katy Perry halftime show.
Really?
And
Wow.
yeah, legit. And
Yeah.
Katy Perry ranked in over 121 million people that tuned in for
Wow.
her Super Bowl halftime show. I really, really loved Katy Perry's Super Bowl halftime show because you could tell she was singing live. It was a spectacle, a visual presentation to behold. There was everything Katy Perry in her performance. You can tell she understands as an artist how to put on a captivating show. And that was the one thing I thought was missing from Rihanna's Super Bowl halftime show was the spectacle. You know, you have Katy Perry riding in on this giant like lion statue thing. You've got dancing trees and sharks. You've got these beach balls and changing color dance floors and pyrotechnics and all this crazy cool outfit changes and stuff. And Lenny Kravitz, and it was just really, really awesome. That was the one thing I think was missing from Rihanna's performance because you just had people wearing all white, you had her in all red, and then you had these white elevating platforms, right? I felt like there could have been more of a spectacle, or more of a presentation for Rihanna stuff, but I have to give her credit for the fact that she was just singing her hits. I mean, that's how much, like, think of how much of a legend you have to be to not release an album for closer to 10 years than 5, and yet people still tune in record numbers to see you. And you're pregnant with your second kid. Like, that's amazing. And I will have to say this because I know this was the point that you wanted to get to, Vince. I didn't okay, how do I say this? I didn't think her Super Bowl halftime show was disgusting at all. I must have missed the whole scratch and sniff thing. I did not notice that. And I have to agree with Candace Owens, actually, which I know is a very odd thing. Candace Owens actually put over Rihanna's Super Bowl halftime show. And I think a lot of people were not expecting that because she is a staunch conservative female, being Candace Owens. And she was like, she said this, Vince. She was like, Rihanna's pregnant. She kept all her clothes on. You didn't have any wardrobe malfunctions. There was no kids in cages. There was no Satan, no politics, no political agendas, just her singing her hits. And Candace Owens actually criticized other conservatives by saying this is why people don't want to listen to conservative Republicans, because you will find anything to critique and be negative about instead of just celebrating some positives, which was Rihanna's performance of her being pregnant, staying fully clothed, not doing any sort of political thing, not doing any sort of social justice thing, and just singing her hits like a savage performer. And so I thought that was a very interesting perspective compared to what we got from Goldberg, who said, quote, it was disgusting. So I think this is very interesting for us to talk about.
Let me address a couple things here off the bat. I'm going to address 3 things. First of all, Candace Owens is definitely not in the Riri Navy as myself, because if Candace Owens was, she would have realized that Rihanna opened up with "Bitch better have my money." So I don't know. Obviously Candace Owens did not know that song, or I think she would have probably had a little problem with it. That's number one. Let me address Goldberg number 2. Bro, I don't know how to say this in a nice way, Taylor, because you are a lady. When artists are dancing, bro, they've been grabbing their crotch for the last 30 years. Like, I don't know what Bill Goldberg is, but bro, Michael Jackson was grabbing his crotch 25, 30 years ago. I never had a problem with that because it's just another dance move. I mean, that's why should I be offended if I'm not offended with Michael Jackson grabbing his crotch? I ain't gonna be offended with Rihanna grabbing her crotch. It's just a dance move. There's only so much you could do. I'm not offended by that. I swear to God, I had a laugh at Howard Stern, bro. This guy, he is just so out of touch with reality. Let me school Howard and everybody else here about how Rihanna performs, because you will appreciate this, Taylor. Because Howard Stern made the comment that 85% of a performance was what do you call lip synced.
Mhm.
Taylor, when Rihanna performs in concert, this is how cool Rihanna is. When she performs in contract, there is a backing track throughout her entire show. She chimes in when she wants to chime in. She'll sing for a while, then she'll chime in and she'll sing. She's not trying to hide that she's lip syncing. She is so cool, bro, that she kind of sings when she wants to sing. So, bro, Howard even mentioned, at one point we were hearing her voice and the microphone was down at her waist. Yeah, bro, because she's not trying to fool you, bro. That is how Rihanna performs. And that's what I think is really cool about her performance. She does what she wants to do. And I differ with you a little, Taylor, and maybe it's because I'm such a fan of Rihanna. I didn't need the sizzle and the steak, man. We haven't seen her in so long. She hasn't performed in so long. I for one am glad that it was just her. I wouldn't have wanted to see the hoopla and bringing Eminem on and Jay-Z and everybody she's ever done music with. So, I'm biased though, Taylor.
I guess so, because I would have thought it was amazing. I love Eminem. Like, I love his attitude as well. Like, I love Eminem. I love Rihanna's attitude. So that would have been crazy cool. I'm not saying that I didn't like her Super Bowl halftime performance. I just thought the presentation itself was underwhelming because it's the Super Bowl. It's the mega. It's like WrestleMania, but for football. You know what I mean? If they were just regular matches without any sort of steam or any sort of hoopla, any sort of magic, then why is it WrestleMania? You know what I'm saying? I think the same way for the Super Bowl, because that is the biggest event for sports. Let's be honest, more people watch the Super Bowl than the World Series. Okay. So I think there could have been more hoopla, but I didn't care that she was lip syncing. It was obvious. And yeah, she is known for having her back music. A lot of people do. Overall, honestly, I was impressed at the fact that she didn't have to do nearly as much as Eminem and Dr. Dre did in 2022. Their numbers paled in comparison to Rihanna's. Like, Rihanna, again, got 118.7 across all platforms, 118.7 million. And Dr. Dre and Eminem, they barely got 103 million.
Wow.
So that is very, very interesting. And I love Mary J. Blige. So I was very surprised. But yeah, I mean, the fact that she hasn't performed and released an album in 7 years, and she has the second highest Super Bowl halftime show. She beat out Beyonce and everybody else. The only person she didn't beat out was Katy Perry. Yeah. That is pretty darn impressive. And all these people trying to say, oh, it's a race thing or it's a sexist thing, like, just stop. Like, if that's all you're looking for, that's what you will find, right? Like, that has nothing to do with her performance. Like, we can debunk this right now. Oh, it's a sexist thing. Well, guess what? If it was a sexist thing, then how come she has the second highest rating of people tuning in to see her if it was a sexist thing? Now, if it was a race thing, again, second highest Super Bowl halftime. If people like just stop. Just stop. Like, I didn't think her performance was disgusting. I didn't think it was offensive. I didn't think any of these other things. Like, Howard Stern, like, just get with the times. I mean, you tried to knock down The Rock for wanting to be an actor, and 10 years later, guess who's laughing now? Howard Stern. Just all these people.
I gotta tell you something. And again, I'm saying such foul things today in front of you, and I feel really bad, but I don't know how else to say it. Howard Stern is criticizing Rihanna lip syncing at the Super Bowl on the same show that 40 and 50-year-old men are gluing pubic hair to their face. Yeah. 40.
Are we watching Jackass? Like, what is this?
40 and 50, and he's sitting there 67 years old, like, this is funny and hysterical. Get the frig out of here, bro. I am so over that guy. How about this, Taylor? How cool. Can you imagine this? How cool to be the kid to say, yeah, my mother performed at the Super Bowl when she was pregnant with me. Can you imagine how cool
And
that
she
is?
kept her clothes on. Like, she's
Oh
not
my
going to scar her children in 18
God,
years.
yes.
Like, amen, Rihanna. Like, ladies, come
Yeah,
on.
yeah,
Like,
that was
no person is going to take you seriously
yeah,
twerking on TikTok, wearing high heels, saying you don't need a man,
yeah.
when in reality, men are the one that invented the heels that you're wearing in your IG and TikTok videos to twerk. I don't understand. I'm not made for this world, Vince. I am not made for
You
this
and me
world.
both. You and me both.
I do not understand this culture. I don't understand the world I live in right now. I
I
never
don't
thought I
need
would be here.
you
The
and me
Matrix
both.
is gonna get me.
Yeah. Yes, yes.
I don't understand. Like, I applaud Rihanna. Like, Rihanna just came and did what she wanted to do, guys.
That's it.
Like,
Yeah.
even if you don't like her music, you can still respect that she didn't shove her politics down your throat. She didn't shove a social justice agenda down your throat. She didn't like have kids grinding in cages or anything like this. She wasn't doing anything except singing hits that most people know and secretly love, even if they don't admit it. Like, just stop the hate. Stop passing the buck. Stop the hate train. Just love what you love, and that's it. Like,
Thank you very much. Guys, I want to remind you, if you are enjoying this show, you want to support me, you want to support Taylor, you want to support the brand, everything, russosbrand.com. Please, man, send in your donations, your super stickers, anything you want to bring up or discuss. I will pull you right up here on the screen. All right, Taylor, what is next on your list?
you know what? Why don't we go into Peeps soda? Oh my goodness.
Let me start with the origin of Peeps, because I don't think people understand this, Taylor. And I know you're a lot younger than me too, so you might not understand this either. Peeps used to just be an Easter thing. Like, that Peeps only came out at Easter, and Taylor, the Peeps were just yellow. That's it. Yellow. You got yellow Peeps at Easter. That's it. When I was a kid, and I loved the Peeps. I could never get enough Peeps. Then all of a sudden on Easter, we added the baby blue. We added a pink one. Okay, still pastel Easter colors. But then all of a sudden, we went to different flavors of Peeps. There's Christmas Peeps, there's Halloween Peeps. So now, throughout the entire year, you're getting Peeps, whereas you could only get Peeps in one color on Easter. But now they're going beyond that.
Yes. Yes, they have, Vince. I love my father. I love him so much. He grew up in probably around the same time you did. He was up in Vermont, country on a farm, and
that's such a great place, Vermont. What a
it really is. Remember when it used to be called America's Snow Playground? Like, I miss those days. I miss that innocence. Anyway, he loves Peeps. So every year, I always love to buy him and send him Peeps and Queen Anne's. He loves those things.
Wait, what's the second thing? What is that second thing?
Queen Anne's.
What is that?
They're like a chocolate dip strawberry. No, chocolate dip cherries.
I think I saw that. I think I saw that just the other day, because I noticed it, because my daughter's name is Annie, and I noticed it. So I
love that name.
I know what you're talking. Yeah. All right. So tell me about your father and Peeps. Go ahead.
Okay, so every year I always try to buy them, and he likes some weird stuff. Like, he likes things like nobody talks about anymore, like rum raisin ice cream and boysenberry pie, and like he eats tomatoes like apples. Like, I love that guy. So I love him so much. I love how much he loves my mom. Anyways, so whenever I think of Peeps, I think of my dad, and so now I'm thinking to myself, do I want to give him Pepsi Peeps soda? I don't know. Like, I love him. I don't want him to die. Like, I'm just trying to think of soda's already pretty toxic. I mean, you can clean rust off of utensils by soaking them in Coca-Cola, for crying out loud. Like, and now we have Pepsi Peeps. I don't know. So apparently they actually created Pepsi Peeps in 2021. I did not know that. It was kind of like a sweepstakes thing, but now they're actually available now for retail. Like, people have bought them at Walmart and all this other stuff. So it's a limited run production, Pepsi X Peeps for 2023.
Wait a minute, Taylor. Let me get this straight. Now, wait a minute. So is it soda that tastes like Peeps, or are they Peeps that taste like soda?
Okay, so here's the lowdown because I have the same exact question, and I don't like Peeps, and I don't drink Pepsi. So I had questions. I had
Yeah.
questions.
Okay, you got me too.
All right. So what I read a bunch of people's reviews of this, and this is what they said. They said it is a Pepsi soda that is flavored marshmallow, like a peep. And they said it's sweet without being too sweet. So you get the best of
Mm,
both marshmallows, which is Peeps, and Pepsi. I just do not think of that being a very good marriage. I think that would be one of the
yeah.
80-something% ending in divorce, but I guess that's just me. So then
Taylor,
I dug a little deeper.
there is no, before you get deeper, there is
Yep.
no way in the world that combination is going to be sweet without being, no way. That
Yeah.
soda is going to be so sweet. But go ahead, dig deeper.
All right, so I wanted to know what other sort of gross combinations there were in the same sort of genre. So apparently there are Dr. Pepper Peeps that you can buy now. There's also a flaming hot Mountain Dew. If that was ever an opportunity to blow out your gut, that would be it right there. I mean, Mountain Dew itself already causes kidney stones, and then you're gonna add like a flame hot Cheetos. They're like, what are you thinking? And now you also have there's also root beer float Peeps. I'm like, where does it stop?
Yeah,
Like I'm all
no.
for fluff sandwiches. Like in the East Coast, like if you grow up in the lower East Coast, like Massachusetts, Rhode Island area, we grew up eating peanut butter and fluff, which is basically
Fluffinator.
peanut butter.
The Fluffinator. Oh my
Yeah,
God, I love
exactly.
it.
Fluffernutters.
I
Yes.
still eat the Fluffinator. Are you kidding me?
Love
There's
it.
nothing like
Love
the
it.
Fluffinator. Oh God.
It's the best. It's way better than peanut butter and jelly. And I
Oh,
stand by that. Come at me if you guys want,
yeah.
but I stick
How
by
about
what
a
I just said.
Fluffinator soda? I'll buy a Fluffinator soda.
No. See, I don't even
Okay,
drink
all right.
soda. I drink ginger ale when I'm not feeling well, and that's about it. I don't drink soda, so I wouldn't even touch that. But yeah, I personally would not do this, but I want to see if anybody listening has, and if I should buy this for my dad or not. Like, I don't know. Like, I love him. I don't want him to like explode.
Is he a big soda drinker?
Oh yeah, he is a junk food junkie.
You gotta buy it from then. You gotta get it from. You gotta buy it from. Yes.
Oh my goodness, I don't know. Root beer float Peeps. We got Dr. Pepper Peeps. We've got Flaming Hot Mountain Dew, and now Pepsi Peeps. Oh gosh, I just no.
Yeah, I can't imagine how sweet that soda is gonna be, man. Like, oh my gosh, yeah, very sweet.
It reminds me of that song from Sugar Cult. It's called Bouncing Off the Walls, and it's like, I'm bouncing off the walls again. Whoa! Like, I just
Yeah,
picture that being like sugar high people's
yeah.
reaction
Oh,
to drinking a whole liter of Pepsi Peeps, but I digress.
yeah. You know what? I'll tell you, Taylor. I know darn well when I see it in the grocery store, I'm gonna buy it. I know I am. I'm gonna buy it because I'm gonna have to try it. I can't imagine me drinking even one full bottle. I can't imagine, but I will try it when it comes out. Yeah.
Oh, that's all you. Tell us how it is
I
next week if you
definitely
buy
will.
it.
I definitely will. Now I'm going to be looking for it, so I'll definitely let you know.
Oh.
And what's next on the agenda, Taylor?
We have a continuation from a previous episode. I don't remember if it was the first episode or the second episode of this podcast, where we were talking all of the crazy shizit going on with the brand new regime for DC Comics and
Right.
their new plan, DC Comics Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, and like this whole reset that's going to happen with the Flash movie and all of the controversy before the new regime took over, because there was already two previous regime takeovers prior to them. So we have some follow-ups to discuss in regards to the Batgirl movie. Okay, so here we go. I am on the wrong page for notes because that's how this day is going. Here we go.
Can you give us, Taylor, like just give me a little background of Batgirl first, because I knew the movie was in production and they spent a crap load of money on it, but then they put the kibosh on it while it was still in production. So just give us a little background before you bring us up to speed.
All right. So for anyone that does not know, the Batgirl film was actually in the works since 2017, but you didn't really start hearing about it until roughly 2021 during like the full onset of the and that's what actually I think led to the downfall of the film. The pandemic led to a lot of shifts in Hollywood and a lot of costs that ended up being accrued over time because of all these different regulations, different things being shut down, different things not being able to happen, codes, regulations, reshoots, stalls, which are all super costly. We're not talking chump change of like 100, 1,000.
Yeah,
No,
no,
we're talking about millions upon millions of dollars.
right.
That's a big deal. And I think this was one of the casualties. Now, also, when you have an unstable regime that keeps changing and changing and changing, there's also going to be casualties. So Leslie Grace was actually cast to be Batgirl in 2021, full force, all casting, ready to go. And they weren't in production when they got canceled. They were actually in post-production.
Wow.
They were I think 50 to 75% through the post-production phase before it got scrapped. And Leslie Grace, who was the lead actress, she was cast as Batgirl, Barbara Gordon. She fired back at DC Comics' co-CEO, Peter Safran, when he said it was unreleasable. Now, him and James Gunn both had the same comments. They said it wasn't watchable, it wasn't releasable. She is actually saying that it was incredible. And that is the exact word she used, was incredible. She said she saw the most finished cut of the film, and she said, quote, definitely potential for a good film in my opinion. Now, I think there is some sort of bias there because you want to believe that one of your major projects that's going to launch your career into the forefront in Hollywood, which is very hard to do, very few spots to do that, you want to believe that it's going to be good. But here's the thing. It went way over budget, okay? And this is a big problem. And I don't think it was necessarily due to irresponsible actions like we saw with Black Adam. I think a majority of the overachieving budget was because, or overreaching, I should say, was because of COVID. They had so many things that they had to reshoot. There was pauses. There was all this other stuff. So they exceeded their budget by more than $20 million. And here's the thing, Vince. They weren't going to be able to make that back because Batgirl was never a theatrical release project. That was a strictly for streaming film. And so when you're going straight to the HBO Max app, you are not going to make those numbers back like you would in a theatrical release, because that's global, and then you get hundreds of millions of dollars if you did it right. I mean, one of the next videos we're going to talk about didn't even have close to the budget of Batgirl, and it's already achieved over $1 million, but we'll get to that a little bit later. Now, there's a lot of controversy, Vince, because some people are saying, again, it's a race thing and a sexism thing. But I don't believe that's true, because in DC's future plan for DC Chapter 1, Gods and Monsters, they are going to have a female-led superhero film. They're doing Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. So it's not a sexist thing. And if they want to go the race card, she is a Latina actress, okay? Leslie Grace. If this was a racism issue, then why would they still be going forward with Blue Beetle, who is a Latin character? And I'm so stoked for that film. I cannot wait. That film was in the works prior to the new takeover, and that's one of the films that they're still going forward with and they're excited about. So I think anybody and everybody is just trying to find an excuse to excuse the fact that the film went drastically over budget and it was going to suit them better to just use it as a tax cut. So that's what's going on. And I also think it's worthy to note, Vince, in case you or anyone else wasn't aware, the decision to cut the Batgirl film wasn't even originally made by the current co-CEOs of DC Comics. That actually came by one of the same guys that had a rift with Black Adam. Their prior CEO, David Zaslav, he actually made the decision to cut the Batgirl film, and it's a decision that was backed by the new CEOs. And he also was one of the ones that had the controversy with Black Adam. So we're kind of seeing what happens when you have somebody in charge that is maybe, I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? Because there's a lot going on here.
I've got to ask you this, Taylor. I mean, they've never really when it, unwatchable, have they ever given any type of reason at all? Or I'm trying to understand, like, I've seen a lot of bad movies in my life. Like, what is unwatchable?
Yeah, I think they said Something just hit me. I honestly do not know. They said it was, Peter Safran said it was unreleasable. And I'm thinking to myself, after you've spent about $90 million, which is almost 25 million above budget, and you're 50 to 75% into your post-production, I feel like somebody would have noticed that it was unreleasable or unwatchable before that point, you know?
Really, I would just love to know the reasoning. I mean, it's you know, watchable. Like how? What do they mean by that? It's hard to not.
Yeah. They haven't said. They have not said. And so I'm curious as to how Batgirl is unreleasable, but you're going to go forward with Ezra Miller as the Flash, and you're going to keep Amber Heard as Mira. I don't understand these decisions. Like, if you're going to scrap Batgirl because it's quote unreleasable and it's way too far over budget and you want to use that as a tax cut, I would assume if you want to save money for theatrical release projects, which is smart because that's a return on your investment, then why are you potentially setting yourselves up for future lawsuits, you know, with keeping certain actors? You know, there's a lot I think to unpack here, and I would love to hear from DC Comics fans on their perspective as well, because like to your point, what does unreleasable actually mean?
Yeah, right.
And why did your main actress in Batgirl not get notified ahead of time that you were scrapping the film? Like, she found out when the general public found out when it was released online. You know, that's shady. That's shady. That's dirty, you know. So
but meanwhile, Winnie the Pooh serial killer, that's going to be watchable.
Yes, well, to some people, the Guardian calls it a bloody mess, and they weren't referring to that positively. USA Today ranked their 5 worst moments of the film. The New York Post actually said these filmmakers are psychopaths. And then the New York Times says, oh, much more than bother. This Winnie the Pooh is terrifying. I love this for Winnie the Pooh. Okay, I'm very upset with Disney, Vince. I'm like, leave our childhoods alone. Stop putting social agendas into, like, let kids be kids instead of putting woke stuff into, you know, their movies and TVs. Okay, like the Matrix is coming for me, I swear. But Blood and Honey, I am so pumped for this. I want to see a horror version of Peter Pan. I want to see a horror version of The Little Mermaid. Yeah. I want you to horror my childhood. Like, I am so on board for this. Like, oh man, this looks so cool. Now, I think a lot of people.
Do you think you're the majority or the minority?
I never really fit in with the majority, so I'm probably the minority. I'm very self-aware. You know, I don't know. I'm just going to be my most authentic self, like it or not. I feel like, so I watched the trailers and I got to see some clips from some people that saw it, and I watched all the reviews and everything. And this is the vibe I get for Blood and Honey, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey, and I love it. I am so stoked about it.
It's already out.
Yes, it is. It's already out in select theaters. They had a budget of less than $100,000, and so far they've already made over 1.8 million in the box office. So, I mean, we have a comparison between what's releasable and what is unwatchable. And to me, this was like the dark side of childhood. Like, what happens when you make the decision to leave childhood and grow up and all the things that you have to leave behind. To me, this is like the backdrop of Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. It's like if Disney's Pixar, like Toy Story, had a baby with Blumhouse Films. This is Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. And I'm super stoked. The description for this film, for anybody who's not aware, it says, a now feral and bloodthirsty Winnie and Piglet terrorize Christopher Robin and a group of young women at a remote house. You're not going to find Tigger in the film. And they eat Eeyore, who was my favorite Winnie the Pooh character.
See, I hate to say it, but like, this is, maybe some people may look at this as sacrilege. This is a must see. Like, you got to see this movie.
It is. I don't care if it's terrible. It's labeled a slasher film. I don't care. It literally looks like Blumhouse reimagined Winnie the Pooh, even though it's not Blumhouse. That's the vibe it gives me. It's like the Strangers or or something meets Winnie the Pooh. Like you can tell by the mask. So basically, Winnie the Pooh and Piglet, Tigger and Eeyore, they all get left behind in the 100-acre wood because Christopher Robin, like all of us do, has to grow up, and he kind of forgets to come visit them. And they turn feral after not having interaction for a while, and they turn on Eeyore and they eat him for sustenance, and then they go out and terrorize, and they find Christopher Robin when he comes to visit. Finally, after many years.
You said Tigger's not in the movie though, and then you just said he was though.
No, I didn't say Tigger was. I said that he abandoned them all because he did. I mean, Tigger is one of the original characters, so obviously when Christopher Robin grows up, he has to abandon all of them.
Yeah.
I don't know what happens to Tigger. I know the director did explain that, but I didn't have time to read it. But all the people that did watch the film said they eat Eeyore, and like my soul died a little bit, and then I was like, oh, I really need to see this now, but I'm probably going to be really sad. It's like when they kill animals in a horror film. Like, I don't care about the people, just don't touch the animal.
Yeah, there was a movie very similar to this, and believe it or not, I literally own it on DVD, where the old banana splits became killers.
I did not know this. This
yeah,
is
I actually have that. I actually watched it, and it's this is very, very similar to that.
What am I going to say?
So
I think a lot of people, go ahead.
Is this only in a movie theater right now? Like, where do we see this?
I think this is in a movie theater. I have not seen anything about it streaming. Basically the backstory is apparently A.A. Milne, who is the author and the creator of Winnie the Pooh, the rights to Winnie the Pooh and the characters came under public domain, so anybody could buy them and use them, right? As long as they're not using the specific type that is owned still by Disney, so the animated version.
Right.
No one can touch that because Disney still has exclusive rights to that entity, that trademark.
Right.
But actual Winnie the Pooh and characters are now public domain, and that's why this British company was able to make Winnie the Pooh Blood and Honey. A lot of people were wondering why Disney isn't suing or whatever. It's because technically they can't, because it's a loose translation and adaptation of the actual Winnie the Pooh that we know and love from our childhoods. I just love this. I love this because it's just so interesting what can happen with such a small budget and such a big return. That's really that's the promise of horror movies that I honestly love.
Were you a fan of the old, again, man? See, there's such an age difference between you and I that I'm always going back in time. Did you ever watch The Toxic Avenger?
Yeah, of course.
Okay, yeah. I mean, it kind of reminds me of that a little bit. But yeah, I mean, $100,000 budget, that's insanity.
Less than, actually.
That's crazy. Yeah, well, I'm definitely interested in seeing that movie, no doubt about it.
I actually really am too. I'm not easily creeped out, so I don't think I'm going to think, oh my gosh, like the New York Post, these filmmakers are psychopaths.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
they're not getting it. They're not. It's a joke.
Yeah, like if I can make it through a Serbian film, I feel like I can make it through anything.
Yeah.
That was awful.
You had some headlines there. Do you have those stories with you, or you just wrote down the headlines?
For what exactly?
Like you had that one that I would love to hear, the 5 worst moments from USA Today or something.
I just wrote them down. I'm still, guys, you gotta bear with me.
I gotta look that up.
Jeff and Vince are always teaching me new things with like technology. I am not, I'm a cranky old granny. I don't know how to do anything. I am constantly learning. So I don't know how to pull up things like a green screen like everybody else does on YouTube. I just recently learned how to make thumbnails. Like I'm going at my own pace. I'm sorry.
Oh, no problem at all. All right, what's next on the agenda?
Honestly, we're early, but let me see here.
There was something. There was a wrestling topic, right?
Yes. So the gist of that I don't think we need to go into specifics too much, but I think this will be a really fun topic for wrestling fans that are tuning into this episode, and especially with you being a writer for WWE and for Impact and WCW and everything, and me being a female, and I've worked with pretty much all the major companies, is the topic of the Divas Championship title in the Divas division. In an interview on Busted Open Radio, Michelle McCool discussed who actually pushed for the Divas championship title. And apparently it was herself and Tori Wilson. I didn't get to see the whole interview, but I thought this would be a really interesting topic for you and I to discuss. And I don't know if we're going to agree or disagree. And I felt like a really fun, polite discourse would be really, really cool for this episode.
Okay, let's hear it.
Okay, so Vince, I do not understand. When I was still full-time in wrestling, I would see girls complain about this a lot and like really push hard against it, and I didn't understand why. So here we go. I talked about this a little bit in my Q&A Wednesday video on my YouTube channel. I don't understand what is so offensive with being announced as a female wrestler or women's wrestling. I don't understand why that was so offensive to other women in the industry. Like, it's just a fact. You're a woman, are you not? Well, yes, I am. And you're a professional athlete, are you not? Well, yes, I am. You're a wrestler, are you not? Well, yeah, yes, I am. So you're a female professional wrestler. But no, you can't say that. I do not understand. And I see so many women today who shiz it on the divas era. And I'm thinking to myself, they are a part of your story. Like, if they weren't doing what they were doing and bringing in the ratings, what do you think would have happened to the industry? Okay, they were doing the best that they could with the times and the opportunities that they were given. And for you to flip that script on them and shiz it on them is just so utterly disrespectful. And an additional follow-up point, in my opinion, so many women dating back to like Mildred Burke with NWA fought for you to have a division to compete in. So why are you shizziting on the divas division, and why are you shizziting on being a female wrestler in a male dominated industry, because you knew that going in, and why are you trying to invade the men's divisions? Like why? I don't feel the need to invade a man's division. Like, I don't need to be an intergender wrestler, and I am not offended by the divas. And I loved the divas title because it was different, it was cool, and why not? Like, some of the most iconic women in the music industry are divas. Like, I don't understand the hate for it. So please give me your perspective, because I want to pull my hair out with this kind of stuff.
So the story basically was that Michelle McCool and Tori Wilson were pushing to have a divas title.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know. I honestly don't know, Taylor. I'm 100%, with you on this one. I mean, I kind of went through the gamut, man. I worked with Deborah Maselli, Alundra Blaze, when she was the only female on the roster. There was a time when there was no WWE Women's Champion. There was there was about a 2-year period where it didn't exist. So then they had Medusa. Literally, they had to bring in an opponent at a time. There was no other woman on the roster. So you're talking about one woman in the business. Now, fast forward to the Attitude Era, and now you started really seeing a growth in women being more prominent in wrestling. And were there divas? Yeah, absolutely. There were divas. I would consider, Sable and Sunny as being divas. Were there great women wrestlers as well? Absolutely. That's what I would categorize, Jackie, Luna, Ivory. These women were great women wrestlers. So, you kind of had, your women that were more of the diva role, and then you kind of had your women wrestlers. And that's how women in the industry really started growing. Come on, Taylor, up until that point, you're a valet if you were a woman. I mean, that's basically it. And maybe you had 1 or 2 women wrestlers. So with that really being the start of the movement, I don't know why females today would have a problem with that. I mean, I constantly hear them stressing that they want to be taken seriously. And every time I hear that, I'm like, who's not taking you seriously? I've never read anything where anybody says that they're not taking female wrestlers seriously. So I don't know. It's almost like, Taylor, that they have this chip on their shoulder I don't know where it comes from. We're not the enemy. I've been a fan and an advocate of women's wrestling my whole life. I think they should have their time. Listen, man, I was in the business when it was the good old boys club, and it was very, very hard for the women to break through. During the Attitude Era, those women started to break through. Hey, listen, man, again, I keep bringing up so many crude things with you, but, Sable, had to go through getting her bag shit in. Do you know what? People have no idea what she had to go through just because she was over. You know how many bullets she took because she was over in a man's world?
Believe me, I get it, Vince.
What would these women today? What if they would have done if Sable would have folded like a tent and she would have bowed her head and they would have run her off? Where would they be today? So how you don't respect women from is beyond me. I'll never understand that, Taylor.
I don't understand it either. There are certain people, for example, I think gosh, I'm such a horrible judge of time. Maybe a month ago, Mandy Leon put out a tweet that had hers in my no DQ match for Ring of Honor under the Women of Honor banner, right? And she talked about how, it has like over 10 million views now, and it's true. And she said how, there's a person that's still employed that does not like women's wrestling and does not think it belongs on television. And that person still has a job and none of us do. And when you look at the top most viewed ROH matches of all time, they're Women of Honor matches. And I'm in 2 or 3 out of the top 4. That's a big deal. And I screenshotted those results about a year before Mandy Leon put out that tweet a month ago. And so I had that screen cap still, in my gallery or whatever. And that just goes to show that when you take yourself seriously and you don't worry about whether or not other people in the industry take you seriously, like Betty Davis says, other people's opinions of you are none of your business. If you're always worried about other people's opinions, like at one point I was, it actually holds you back from personal growth. It holds you back from all of the potential that the child you used to be deserves at your very best as an adult. And you cannot be the adult you needed as a child and reach your fullest potential as a human being, as a professional wrestler, as a superstar in this industry if you're always worried about everyone else's opinions. I know this to be true. I know this not to be an opinion, but to be a fact. And people often conflate personal opinions with facts these days. And analytics don't lie, because analytics don't care about your feelings. They don't care about your gender. They don't care about your race. They don't care about how you grew up. They don't care if it hurts your feelings, because they're just analytics. They are just facts, right? And so for me, I've seen the negative side of people not taking women's wrestling seriously. There's always going to be excuse. Oh, it's because she's pretty, or like they saw that with Mandy Leon. People said that to me about me, and I had no idea until Nevaeh Christ actually told me. She was like, I had a Queens of Combat match with her and Rachel Ellering versus myself and Chelsea Green. And I remember backstage, she was like, Taylor really proved that she's not just a pretty face in wrestling, like she can go. And that was the first time that I had any idea that people looked at me that way, because I always viewed myself as a wrestler. I got into the business because I loved wrestling. I loved the art of it. I loved the characters of it. I loved the glitz, the glam, the hot damn, the like I loved all of that. I loved it in my bones. I knew I wanted to do that. I gave literal blood, sweat, tears, and bones and ligaments to the business. And sometimes as a girl, you don't get that return. It never quite loves you the same way, but that doesn't mean that it's skewed against you. Like, it's so much easier to stand out as a girl in this industry than it is as a guy, because it's a guy industry. And I said this to you before. If you're on safari, for anybody listening, if you're on a safari, picture yourself in one of those Jeeps and you're going down the dirt road on this safari and you see this huge line of beautiful elephants and a giraffe. You're going to notice the giraffe because it's the only giraffe that looks out of place in a group of elephants on the side of the road. Yeah. That's what it's like being a female in a male-dominated industry. So why take that for granted and try to make that a negative? It should be a positive, it should be such a positive, because I feel like the men, it's so much harder for them to stand out, even though there's more spots for them on a show. there's more men to fill those spots. So it's super, super competitive. And when they think that a woman is going to take a spot away from them, of course they're going to have a problem with it. I remember a guy going to management and complaining about my tombstone pile driver, saying I was going to hurt somebody. But the funny thing was, I never hurt a single person with my tombstone ever. And it's super safe. And I never gave it to somebody that didn't want it. And that person was coming back with like a broken orbital bone, bloody noses, torn ligaments, bruises all over them. And yet here I am, and my opponents are fine. You know, it's a give and take. I think if people learn to work together, like if you're a girl in this industry, the men are your enemy. Okay. And not all the women are your friends. All right. You're not really friends with anybody, and you're not really a family, because once they think that they can't get something from you, they stop calling. They stop texting. You felt it. I felt it. Once they think that they cannot get something from you, their loyalty changes, because they were never loyal to you. They were loyal to their need of you. It's a narcissism. It's a narcissistic thing. It's an ego. It's so much. So for me, it's like, you just got to understand what the business actually is, instead of what you thought it was when you were a kid, or what you want it to be. It's never going to be what you want it to be, because it's always going to be what it is. It is an industry that's built a certain way for a reason, because it's a business. And it shouldn't be an insult to be labeled a female wrestler. Like, so many people for more than 100 years fought for you to be able to even wrestle in the first place, and to discredit the Divas division. Like, I always loved Michelle McCool. Tori Wilson has been nothing but amazing to me. I love her to death. Michelle McCool, I always thought it was so awesome, Vince, that even though she's with The Undertaker and married to The Undertaker and whatnot, she always tries to do things on her own merit, whereas some other women didn't. They would use the relationship that they were in to get favor, or to get what they want, or to get the gear changes so they could have sexier gear or whatever. I never felt like Michelle McCool ever did that. And yeah. I really loved that.
There's a lot of really strange things about this tale. I'm gonna hit you with a couple of things.
Yeah.
I don't really know where you're gonna stand with this stuff, but I'm gonna hit you with them anyway. First of all, I want to make one thing perfectly clear, because people point the finger at me all the time. Okay, Vince Russo, never in my entire career with 3 companies, never booked a bra and panties match. That came in the WWE after I left. Okay, never once did I ever book a bra and panty match. That's number one. Number two, you know, when you talk about the divas, and you really talk about beautiful, attractive women with knockout bodies. Okay, first of all, from a creative standpoint, never once in my career did I ever tell any female what to wear to the ring. They got their own gear made up, whatever they felt comfortable in, that's what they wore. I never had a problem showcasing the bodies of these women, Taylor, because I knew how hard they worked on their bodies. These were blue chip class athletes, always in the gym, always training, always dieting, and they took great pride in their bodies. I've said this all the time. If Vince Russo actually had a 6-pack, I hate to break the news to everybody, I would never wear a shirt. Okay? If I worked that hard to get a 6-pack and be chiseled, I would never wear a shirt. These women weren't flaunting. They were very proud of their bodies and how hard they worked. Because here's the one thing that makes me laugh. I go hysterical when I hear this. With all due respect, Taylor, there's one thing that's never going to change. An attractive, sexy, good-looking, fit female is always going to draw a male audience. And I'm not going to apologize for that. That's the way it is. If you don't know what I'm talking about, just watch when a female actress or pop singer, watch when they appear on talk shows, watch what they're wearing, because they know they know that the male draws to that. So it makes me laugh because it's like that's not how they want to be viewed, right? So my question is, okay, that's not how you want to be viewed. Then why are you wrestling in makeup and 3-inch eyelashes? Seriously, what are you doing that for? You don't want men to, be drawn to your physiques and your body, but yet I always the ridiculousness, Taylor, of wrestling in makeup with fake eyelashes. That is insane to me. Like, I'm worried about what I'm wearing, but I'm gonna put guys, don't put makeup on. Guys, don't put fake eyelashes on. But I'll tell you, Taylor, and I don't know where you sit with this. And you can call me a sexist. You can call me whatever you want to call me. I don't even know what the word for it would be. Taylor, there's one thing I really don't like that did not exist when I was writing, wrestling. Taylor, I cannot take women bleeding. I don't know if you want to call. You can call me whatever you want to call me. I really have a hard time when I see women bleeding. And Taylor, I've got a wife. I've got a daughter. I think that has a lot to do with it. But that's one thing, especially AEW, man. They've introduced that. And I just got to speak for guys. Taylor, come on, is there going to be a small audience that gets off on women bleeding? Absolutely, there's going to be. But you can't tell me the mass audience, the average male is going to enjoy seeing a female bleed. Where do you stand on that? I'm very, very interested to hear a woman's perspective because that is really difficult for me to handle.
At the end of the day, I want to start off by saying this. There was something Al Snow used to say to us when I was in developmental. I was at OVW, and it was an Impact developmental territory at that particular point. And he used to say, and I quote, "Stop wrestling like men with." I don't want to use the word because I don't know if I'll be canceled. But he used to say that. And I remember myself, Ruby Soho, the Blossom Twins and stuff, we didn't really understand. And we got offended. We were so soft. Like, it's ridiculous thinking back how soft. Like, today I'm like, why were you offended by that? It was just real. Like, it was truthful. Like, I think it's because we were all blue pilled at that point. We were all, on train, feminism, whatever, all that stupid crap. And but he was right. He was right. Men aren't tuning in to watch women wrestle like men. They want to see you compete like women because you are women. That doesn't mean you can't wrestle. It doesn't mean you aren't a professional caliber athlete. It just means your character should make sense. The moves you're doing should make sense. How you sell, your facial expressions, your gear, it should all make sense. It should be a cohesive presentation, not a dude wearing a wig and booty shorts and balloons. Mm-hmm. Like, it took me a long time to understand the value that he was passing on to us. And I don't know if they ever got it. I never asked, but I did. And that's when my whole gimmick changed. Around that time is when you started really seeing me go into a healed Taeler Hendrix persona. That's when my inspiration started going. 2014, which was about a year after he gave us that knowledge, was when I got bullied at a Rhode Island Comic Con, and I ended up using that bullied experience to create everything that I thought Al Snow was ever trying to teach me, and it was my most successful persona in my career. So I think it's all a matter of how you choose to look at it. Now, I know somebody said something, so can you read that to me real quick?
Yeah, Travis FDY, and I love this, Travis. I think this is awesome. Travis with a $5 super sticker. I think this is awesome. This is the storyline WWE should go with: the current hateful, ungrateful generation versus the divas. Put this on TV with scathing promos and realism. I think that's a great idea, Travis.
I love it.
I would love writing that. That's the one thing like that I always say, Taylor, and I'm like, guys, we have to stop. When I see women trying to wrestle like men and trying to do what the men do, I'm like, listen, this isn't sexist. This is physiology and anatomy.
Mm-hmm.
You have different bone density. You have different muscle structure. You're not built like a man. So if you try to do what they're doing, the odds of you getting hurt are going to increase dramatically. You're not built like they are. I don't know. That is not sexist. That is a fact. I don't
It's science.
How can any woman be offended by that? It is science.
We're living in the soft age where people conflate opinions and personal feelings with facts. And so here's some facts and not personal opinions, okay? I've had about 8-ish concussions, okay? And I can tell you from personal experience, I started wrestling when I was only like 17 years old. I was 17 for like 2 months when I got into the business, okay? I had no business being in the business. I was so innocent, like legitimately innocent and naive, okay? And through that, I was hit by women. I was hit by men. I was hit by women on steroids, and I was hit by men on steroids. And I can tell you, a woman on steroids does not hit harder than a man who is not on steroids. This is fact. I have been hit by them. I have taken moves from them. I know. Okay, there's a reason why there's more concussions and neck injuries in women's soccer than men's soccer. Our bone density is different. Our lung capacity is different. Our hormone levels are different. There are certain. It does not mean you are less than. It just means that you're suited for certain things and they're suited for other things. But that does not mean you're less of an athlete. It does not mean you're less deserving of being called a professional wrestler or professional superstar. It just means they're different. And people are going to tune in differently. And like that gentleman just said who made the donation, okay, if you do that storyline, for example, I guarantee you put both of those superstars, one from the current generation and one from the Divas generation, they're so different. The Divas generation still looks like superstars. Okay, a lot of the generation now, they look like girls next door that you would see on your average Instagram, okay? There's a difference. Not everybody wants to tune in to see the girl next door. They want to tune in to see somebody that they think is unattainable and try to envision what it would be like to attain the unattainable. The 1% of gorgeousness, okay? 1% of sexy. If you put Carrie, Stephen King's Carrie with the blood covered on her at prom versus Angelina Jolie as Tomb Raider, who do you think the guys are going to line up to meet and want to be with? They're going to go with Angelina Jolie as Tomb Raider, okay? These are just facts. I don't think it's offensive because guess what? I could wear the sexiest gear that I've ever had, and guess what? I can still European uppercut you into next week, okay? That does not make me any less of a wrestler. It just means I understand my demographic. I understand my brand, but I can also back it up in the ring, okay? I can kick your head off if I wanted to, and I can make it look like an accident if I wanted to. The point is, you're a professional, and you should be presenting a presentation that is worthy of people wanting to spend their hard-earned money. And you don't have to say like down with men. Like this isn't a male versus female thing.
Yeah, you said something, Taylor, that I love what you said because you brought up hormones.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you in how many matches I've seen women cry after the match. You never see men cry after a match. I can't tell you, especially after winning a title. I can't tell you how many times I've said, Taylor, I'm not sitting at home and saying, oh, wait a minute. Oh, no, you can't cry because the men don't cry. I understand you are a woman and your hormones are different, and that is okay. But you can't make the rules as you go along like, okay, we're going to work like the men, but we're going to wear makeup and fake eyelashes, and we're going to cry when you win a title. Well, if you want to be comparable to the men, then you can't do any of that stuff either. There's nothing wrong with you being a female in the wrestling business. Nothing.
No, not at all. And the thing is I think that's the problem with modern society is they've been blue pilled to the point where they don't realize that they're brainwashed. And you see this a lot in wrestling.
Well, hold on, Taylor. What is blue pill use? You used that a couple times. I never heard that
Yeah.
before.
Well, red pill is you understand things for what they really are, and blue pill is when you're drinking the Kool-Aid. Okay,
Okay,
and
so
I
we got
think
to know that. I like that.
yeah, I think too many people are drinking the Kool-Aid, okay? Like they say masculinity is toxic and a woman, we want equality and all this other stuff. Like, ladies, masculinity in its right form is not toxic. Let men be men. Stop trying to turn women into the men that they want to marry and then in the same exact breath tell men that they're toxic. Like, men built the world we live in today. Men built the heels that you wear. Men built the cell phone that you're on right now. Men invented the apps that you use. Men are the ones subscribing to your OnlyFans. Like, just stop. Let men be men. Let women be women. Okay. And equality isn't real. It's not real. Okay. Because if you want to say like you want to say real equality, I think modern postmodernist F word, which I use feminism as I call it the other F word. They only want equality with things that they want. They don't want equality in the sense of a draft. They don't want to do that. They don't want equality as in, their money should be your money as a man too. No, but your money should be theirs. That's not equal. They don't want to be, construction workers. They're not wanting equality for trash pickup and engineering and all these other things. No, they just want equality in the things that they want, like higher status type of stuff, but they're not willing to go through the same stuff that a man would. I think society is different. We're not equal because we're built differently, and that's okay. There are certain things that women can do way better than men.
Absolutely.
And I think that there are certain things that men are more equipped for than women.
Absolutely.
I don't think that that's an insult.
No.
I think that's empowering. I think it's so empowering to be a real, honest to goodness, hardworking woman in society, just like I think it's empowering for a man to be a real man. I don't think if you had the ability, right, as a woman to make yourself up to look like a convincing man and live the reality of a man in today's society for 1 year, you would never again want to hear the other F word. That's my opinion. And this goes for wrestling as well. Women don't understand in wrestling that they get certain benefits just by being a woman in wrestling. They don't want to see that and they don't want to acknowledge it because they think that somehow demonizes all of their hard work, when in reality it doesn't. Embrace your femininity. Wrestle like a woman. That was one of the things that I think I did so well in my gimmick. And I'm not trying to put myself over. I'm just trying to make a point. I always looked feminine. I may have looked like a psychotic feminine character, but I always tried to look feminine based on a lot of the stuff Al Snow taught me. And I have zero problems with giving him and Rip Rogers the credit. They helped make me the performer that I became. And I will always be thankful for that because you don't get that in every place. And today you see a lot of the girls wear the same kind of gear, same kind of stuff. They're all on OnlyFans, but then they want to be taken seriously. And they say all these toxic things about men, but who's paying for your subscriptions? Who's tuning in to see you wrestle? Who's doing all of these things? Men. So why are you dissing them and calling them toxic? And I just think it's just so backward. And I wish and I want more people to have their eyes open. And I do want to answer your question really quick, Vince, because you asked me it a while ago, but we get sidetracked because so many things come up. Bleeding for women in wrestling.
Before you get to that, I just want to address one thing. Before you get to that, and then I'll let you go. I want to address one thing.
Yeah.
In September, I am going to be married for 40 years. And
that's amazing.
Let me explain to people why I've never been divorced. I've never cheated on my wife. My wife has never cheated on me. There are never any arguments. You know why, bro? Let me tell you why. Because throughout our entire marriage, I am the man and my wife is the woman, and it's fit like this. My wife can do what I can do. I can do what my wife can't do. And when we work together, you've got a perfect fit. Period. End of story. Call me whatever you want. Label it. We as men and women, we have had roles. And when you both have your role, it comes together like this. So let me hear about the blood thing.
I do not disagree with you, Vince. I am a very old school person. I'm an old fashioned kind of girl, which I don't think a lot of people expect because they've heard all kinds of narratives about me in the business that are just untrue. And so that's why I firmly believe in just being free with your authenticity, because the right people will eventually find you because they're attracted to your authenticity. And those are your people. Those are your vibe attracts your tribe, basically. And if you're around trash, you eventually become trash. And to me, I was always taught you put the trash in the garbage and you don't hold on to it, so that's my point of view. And as far as bleeding in wrestling, there's only been a couple times where I actually wanted to do that. And here's the thing. I'm not necessarily for women bleeding in wrestling, because eventually they're going to leave wrestling someday and they're going to be left with those scars. And those scars, both visible and deep inside of yourself, are going to be there. And sometimes when you have the visible ones, it's very hard to forget about the physical ones that are deep inside you. You know what I'm saying? You live with the daily aftermath of what happens in this industry. The choices you make and the choices you don't make matter just as much. And the injuries add up, the lifestyle adds up, and this is why so many of the good ones are dying, and it makes me so sad. And that's one of the reasons why I was glad to do my podcast, Talks with Taeler Hendrix, is because this business is built on the backs of childhood dreams, but it doesn't give you what it promises. And when you have women doing these certain things because they think it's cool and edgy and all this stuff, great. But you have to acknowledge that you're making a choice that you're asking your families that you have now and your future family to make sacrifices for and deal with the repercussions of. It's very similar to OnlyFans. It's generational trauma that gets passed down from one generation to the next, to the next, to the next. And everybody just passes the buck instead of taking accountability, taking stock of themselves and fixing themselves. You can't love somebody else and know how to love somebody else until you learn how to love yourself unconditionally, good and bad, and have that terrible, brutally honest conversation with yourself, calling yourself out on your own shit so you can be the best possible human being for yourself and for your family. And when it comes to bleeding and wrestling, it's relevant to what I just said, because they're going to be left with those scars. They're going to be left with that footage. They're going to be left with the evidence of what they chose to do, and their kids someday are going to have to see that. And I don't picture children be like, yeah, my mom bled all over live television. It's different. It's different than a film. Okay. It's not real blood coming down over Carrie. Okay. In the sense that human blood. Okay. We know it's a book. We know it's a feature film. In wrestling, accidents happen. Absolutely. Like, nothing can really be done. An accident happens. But when you have somebody taking aspirin and pre-cutting themselves and putting Vaseline and, drinking alcohol, which I've seen people do because it thins the blood along with aspirin to get more blood, you're making a very dangerous choice that it can affect many different families. Okay. Yep. And so I'm not necessarily for it. Now, I will say, though, there was one particular instance where I was for it, and that was one of the only times in my very long career that I was for it, and that was my no DQ match with Mandy Leon. We both wanted to bleed in that match, and that match made sense. Okay, it's a no DQ match. It's a long ass feud where I got to show you guys my creativity and my promos and my character development, my mannerisms, my writing, my gear, everything. It was all coming to a head. Me, Mandy Leon, the exotic goddess, the villain, Hail Hendrix, it made sense, is what I'm trying to say. And we weren't allowed to. That was one time we wanted to legitimately put our bodies on the line, and we weren't allowed to, because earlier that weekend, there was an extremely bloody match between two men that was not verified in advance. They did not tell management that they were going to bleed all over the place. There was blood everywhere. The mat was stained like all the way through. There was so much blood. Okay. Now they also had an intense feud, so it made sense. I'm not going to lie, but that turned into a huge scandal. Somebody that wasn't even involved in the match lodged a huge complaint backstage with management. And the next day there ended up being a huge managerial meeting, and then the trickle effect of that is Mandy and I weren't allowed to bleed, so we had to use fake blood. Yeah. And the fake blood stuff we were given did not work that well. On top of the equipment not being put where we were told it was supposed to be put, we got ribbed big time. I guess in a roundabout way, maybe that's a good thing, because maybe if and when I'm blessed to be a mother, I won't have to explain that.
Yeah.
You know, and it's still just as awesome. It's still just as savage. Yeah. But I do like the fact that her and I were so committed to that storyline and to that company and to that match that we wanted to do that. Now, was that going to be something we wanted to do all the time? No. But it was that one time. And I think when you have something like that, it means so much more than seeing it every week and then it becomes expected. Once there's a certain expectation, how do you exceed that, Vince? You can't. Yeah. Once you jump off of a staircase through a table on fire, where do you go from there?
Yeah, I've said that. I've said that from day one with AEW. You guys don't want to tell any stories, no storylines. You want to do all these moves in the ring. Great. What are you going to do when everybody's seen all your moves? You're going to keep up in the bar and up in the bar and up in the bar until you eventually kill yourself, which makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. All right, Taylor, what's going on, man? Tell them about your podcast. Tell them about your books, everything going on.
All right, everyone. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. We went a little longer due to my equipment malfunctions today. So I apologize, but you know what? I'm living it up. It's been a really rough week. So you can find me on Twitter with @Taeler_Hendrix. You can find me on Instagram with @TaelerHendrixROH. Bring up Hendrix. Again, I am sorry they're not the same. There's fake me's on the platform before the real me was, because I'm not that cool. You can find me on YouTube. I love my YouTube channel. I would love you guys to stop by youtube.com/Taeler Hendrix. I have so much content. Motivation Mondays, Q&A Wednesdays, Fun Fact Fridays, things to know before you're 30, so much more. Talks with Taeler Hendrix is every Tuesday with russosbrand.com and Channel Attitude, where I have my podcast. You also have this podcast live every Friday, the Brand Live with Vincent Taylor. And then you also have my books on Amazon, amazon.com/ebooks. Type in my name. I have 4 children's books, 2 of which are top 100 sellers. So that's awesome. And then I also have a blog that I'm starting up. If you ever wonder how you can, support me besides my YouTube channel and my podcast, my blog is the way to go. It costs you nothing. And every time you read, I get paid. That's very awesome. Nice. I love saving you guys money. And then last but not least is also Cameo. Every time you guys order from cameo.com/Taeler Hendrix, you get a personalized message from me that I guarantee you is probably 2 minutes or more in length. And I donate to charity. So it's a win-win-win. Nice.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
Clinton Merchant. I just wanted to pull this up. Yeah, I love your motivational Mondays, Taylor. Thank you for all you do for us.
He is a high-ranking member of the Taylor Army. Thank you so much, Clinton, for tuning in.
Clinton. Thank you. Yes. All right, Taylor, listen, have a wonderful weekend. Everybody who joined us today, guys, have a wonderful weekend, man. Love one another. Be kind. Have a smile on your face. Change the world. We'll see everybody next week.